So you've been watching Egee's videos and you've been noticing just how cool his desktop looks like, and you've been wondering, how can I get my KDE Plasma to look like that? Look no further, because here we are. This is a vanilla Debian KDE Plasma Desktop. New fresh install. Let's see what version it is. What is it doing? I need K-Info Center. There it is. We're going to be working with KDE Plasma version 5.27.5, though KDE ages pretty well, so I would endeavor to say that even after a year or two, the way that I set this desktop up will probably work on later versions of KDE too. I don't think the framework and Qt version matter all that much, but that's 5.103 and 5.15.8 respectively. Now the specs of this machine won't matter very much, we just want it to look like this. It's got wobbly windows, transparency, the background windows dim. It has a GNOME shell-like activities, complete with a search and different desktops and stuff. It's a cool setup. I'm really proud of it. So let's hop back over to the vanilla Debian and I'll show you how everything is set up. So a fresh KDE install is probably going to look something like this on most vanilla distros. If you're used to Windows, then you're already used to KDE Plasma. It's basically, I don't want to say it's the same thing, but it's pretty darn similar, and I don't think that's a bad thing. This desktop metaphor has been around for a very long time, and literally everyone is familiar with it. So even though it may not be super perfect and streamlined the way that, say, GNOME is, it's familiar, and people can switch from Windows to KDE relatively easy. But I will say that it is a little bit bland. By default, you can switch to dark by going to Appearance and then Apply, and then bam, everything is dark, including Dolphin. It's kind of a nice touch. Switch it back to light and boom. It seems to refresh the whole desktop so you don't get stuck in this weird limbo where some things are light and some things are dark. Certain distributions have like a combo of light and dark, but by default you just get dark or light. My desktop is breeze dark, and I've actually turned the animations down by 1 just to give it a different feel. I don't want it to feel like just standard KDE out of the box. I want it to feel a little bit different, and changing the animation speed is an easy way of doing that. Arguably the most important thing about your desktop is the background. So Plasma has a cool little desktop folder settings widget, and you can add images or get images straight from the internets. I've already got a background I want to use, and it's the one that I'm using on my other machine now, and just like that. As soon as you click it, it changes like that. I had it full screen so you didn't see it the first time, but you just click it and it fades in. Now something it doesn't seem to do by default is change the overall theme. So most of this background here is probably purple, but you can see the accents are still blue, like the folders are blue, the outlines are blue and things like that. So we want to change that to match the background. And we can do that by going to More Appearance Settings, which reveals the Twilight theme, and that's the hybrid dark light theme. As you can see, it looks like Debian actually has a custom breeze theme, which is cool. And now on the side there's this new pane, and in here is colors, and in the colors section you can say use accent colors from the current wallpaper. I know the path to get here was a little labyrinthine, but to get the most out of KDE Plasma, you really have to dig through the settings. So once you get familiar with where everything is, like system administration, hardware, and workspace, personalization and stuff, it becomes pretty easy to find things. You can actually search for things, I think, just straight in here. Like if we want decorations. Yeah, here we go. I just need to spell it right. And this is a good segue to talk about window decorations. See, I didn't even have to search through here. It just took me here from the little start menu launcher thing. I still don't particularly love the very basic window decorations up here that just kind of become circles when you hover over them. I do like the rounded edges. It's not just sharp square, but on the bottom it's a sharp square and there's a little bit of shadow. But my favorite set of window decorations, which you can get straight from like here in the settings thing, go down to get new window decorations. This usually takes a little bit to load, but you can start searching right away. I just do K10 and there it is, Windows K10. Now I'm pretty sure this is a pretty old and possibly deprecated window decoration theme. There's like 2 versions and I use the older one. So it might not hurt to fork this and maybe like keep a version of it or update it or something, because unfortunately it might break at some point. But I really, really like it because it adds this blue border around everything and makes it feel big and chunky and, to be honest, familiar. I happen to really like the OG Windows aesthetic. It works good. Oh, and if you ever see a folder that hasn't transitioned to the new color, you can just like highlight it or just hit F5 and it refreshes just like that. The desktop icons do that too, and this is a good segue to talk about those. So it seems like by default there are no desktop icons. If I drag and drop, I can link it here. Oh, okay, so they are enabled by default, but I like having a home and a trash folder here. Maybe not always a trash folder, I get to that through Dolphin. But this takes us back to the desktop folder settings, and from here, I actually had to double check how I did this on my workstation, and what I've done is I've just created a symlink from home and just dropped it here. So you can go to Dolphin and drag and drop this onto the desktop, and don't do copy, but do link. That creates a new desktop icon. It's called Egee, but you can rename it. I'm just going to call it home, and you can change the icon to something that resembles a home. Hit OK and bam. I know desktop icons aren't for everybody, but I like it. It makes it kind of feel like home. And the folder's called home, so look at that. So we have a pretty basic desktop setup, but I like having the bottom bar a bit more chunky. So by default, it's at 44. On my workstation, I have it set all the way up to 58. And then to get that cool floating panel effect, you just go to More Options, and there is an option called Floating Panel. Click away, and now the panel is down here floating in this really cool classy effect. To be fair, I think that Chrome OS does this too, but I like it. And while I love the KDE Plasma logo, I like Debian's logo, so I'm going to edit it, not the menu editor. And most distributions will have their logo just built into the icon selector. So if we type in Debian, there it is. We'll choose the white one since we're on a dark background, and there it is. So one thing that I have grown accustomed to working on desktops like, say, GNOME or Pantheon on elementary OS is having a top bar up here that provides all of your important information and controls just like at a quick glance. Now, I don't typically like having two panels, but I don't seem to hate it either. So let's get out of this edit mode and we just right-click the background and do Add Panel. And I'm going to add a default application. No, wait, default panel maybe? Yeah, that's what I need. So what kind of winds up happening is I move a lot of the stuff from the bottom panel to the top panel. And I noticed that I left the shortcuts here, and I actually don't typically like shortcuts because it winds up being kind of duplicates of applications that I already have. And to be fair, KDE does this pretty well, but I still don't really love these shortcuts, so I get rid of them. And the top bar doesn't have an application launcher, though I'm not opposed to it because it does kind of give it a Pantheon feel. You know what? For this, I think I'm going to try it. But what I will do is get rid of this application launcher and replace it with an application menu because it's simpler and it's faster. Ooh, we got to get rid of this guy. Remove you, come down here, and did that break it though? Hopefully it still works. Yep, it still works. So because I use my application menu a lot, I'm pretty picky with how I have it set up. So let me fix the icon again. Debian, spelling is always a challenge. So there's the Debian logo. Oh, you know, one reason why I don't like doing this is it's going to make the logo really, really small because this bar is small. We'll just try to roll with it. I don't like the categories, so we'll get rid of those. And it searches files and things by default. If I type in like image or I don't know what kind of files I have, maybe hosts a file. It probably just indexed the home folder, but Alright, that's enough of that one. So let's make this smaller and see how it looks. No, not that. Not that. So on my workstation I have this down to 29, which this doesn't even go to. So let's do 28. Look how small that icon is. I don't know if it matters that much. It's almost just like a logo, like a Debian logo, but this is too small. Let's bump this up to, where'd it go? Where'd the thing go? This guy. Let's bump it up to 30. Now something that's a bit of a challenge is centering things in the panel. So I want to put this in the middle, but I have to fight with the icons only task manager. And we don't use a pager, so we'll take that space back. Well, actually, I don't have the icons only task manager up there. Now I need a spacer. Okay, I got it. So we'll drop a spacer and see it just moved everything to the right. I know this looks like a mess if you've never done it, but if you have worked with these panels before, it's not as crazy as it looks. But I'm moving the spacer around and it's covering everything. You just kind of have to know where to move it to. So I need the clock to be on the right side of this. And there it is. So we drop it. And now we've left aligned the application menu. And if there is a better way of doing this, let me know. I've just always done it this way. Now it's a little bit small because it's trying to fit the date in there, and I just sacrifice the date to have a nice big chunky clock up there. We don't need a desktop widget up here. Let's get rid of that. Peek at the desktop. Yeah, let's get rid of it. Another thing that I got used to using Pantheon and GNOME was having a power applet up at the top here. Oh, it's called logout. Lock and logout. I put that over here. By default, it wants to show the little lock thing, so we configure it and we take that away. So all we see is the cool little power button. And I think that wraps up the top bar. You have to click all these to get out of it. Escape doesn't work. Now the bottom bar doesn't have any of this business, so we'll go back into edit mode and eliminate the system tray and the digital clock. The desktop widget stays though. Okay, so that is the panel. This actually winds up being a little tiny bit different from my workstation, and I think I kind of like it. It feels a bit more streamlined. I don't know about these up here though. Can I move these to the bottom? It didn't look like it, so I just removed them, and that's fine. But one thing that does kind of irk me about this is that this icon up here is tiny and these ones are big, and they're also off alignment, but I don't know, I might be able to get used to that. But yeah, I guess this is the basis of my desktop. So now let's add a little candy, going back into the settings app and looking at some of the appearance and effects stuff. Now, one thing I noticed is my icon set is a little bit different, and I don't know why, because it says I'm using Breeze Dark here, but I'm also using Breeze Dark on the workstation PC. You can see that the desktop, like the peak to desktop icons are different, and my system tray icons are different. I like the chunky icons with color and things like that. The default Breeze icons that are, I guess, like more symbolic, I've never liked those, and I wish that we would kind of move away from them. Okay. Oh, it crashed. Nice. Plasma shell through a segmentation fault. That's fun. Well, let's switch it back to Breeze Dark and see if that changes or fixes anything. I have Papyrus, and I think just Papyrus. Yeah, just Papyrus installed on the workstation. So I guess maybe some of those icons are coming from Papyrus. Did I create a bug on my workstation that I can't replicate over here? That would be weird. Oh, I noticed another little thing. So this little icon here on the top left of your windows, I've never liked that because it's off center from the decorations on the right. At least it kind of looks like it is. And there's no other color in the top bar, so like there's just this random icon that's floating there. I've never liked it. So luckily that is really easy to fix. We have to go to decorations, and that's under appearance, window decorations, title bar buttons, and you can just grab it and drop it down, hit apply, and boom, it's gone. Just like that. KDE is awesome. I really cannot rave about I can't rave enough about just how cool KDE Plasma is. And these are features that have been here since KDE 5, Plasma 5, maybe even Plasma 4. Everything is super customizable and really easy once you know how to do it. Now, before we get to the effects and stuff, I want to show another really important quality of life improvement I make to my desktop. It's another, a style trend that desktops are moving away from, and I don't know why, but they get rid of the title bar, like the file menu. You can usually hit Alt to get it back, and you actually can't in Dolphin. That's crazy, but you can bring it back in. I'm kind of having to retrace my steps and remember how I did all of this, but apparently to get the menu back, you hit Control M, and then it stays back, like it's not going to go away this time. Now, another important change that I like to make is around the fonts. So if you look at Dolphin here, there's like gaps. There's a lot of space between the menu and the navigation thing. So what I like to do is change up my fonts, and I have a lot of custom fonts. By default, it ships with Noto Sans, which in my opinion is one of the ugliest fonts that there is, but it doesn't have to be pretty because it's meant for compatibility on Android and stuff. So you can easily adjust all fonts, even though it's not actually all fonts, it's just the spacing type of font, so this isn't going to change the monospace fonts at all. But I like a font called Quicksand, and Quicksand ships with Debian. So we hit OK, and you can see that it changed everything but the fixed width or monospace fonts. There. And now you can see what big difference fonts have. I like to blow this up. And of course we've got to have a PFP, because why the heck not? You do this in the users section. You just go there and choose a file. PFP is good. Hit apply. Surprised it didn't ask for my password, but I mean, I guess I'm logged in. So now we go to log out, we can see the PFP. I saved the best one for last. I think desktop effects are so underrated and forgotten in the world of computing today. And I think that's such a shame, because so many of these fun, crazy effects came from Linux and Compiz and Emerald and all the other cool projects going on back in the 2000s. And Kwin brought a lot of that heritage forward. And you can add translucency, wobbly windows, magic lamps, all kinds of stuff. So we've got translucency, wobbly windows, we've turned off magic lamp, and I think squash was on there by default. I like to dim inactive windows, so this one back here is dim, and now that one back there is dim. I find it makes it easier for me to focus on whatever window is in front of me, especially if there's like a video or something going on in the background. It's not going to distract me. Down at the bottom we have window open close animation. By default it's scale, so when we close it, it scales in from nothing, then it goes away. Now for window management, I actually have desktop grid, present windows, and tiling editor turned off, and all I have left is overview. And for overview's configuration, I have it set to meta tab, which is Windows's hotkey to do this. Oh, come on. It's not working. Oh, it's because this popped up and I must have been like spamming the key and it just closed it. So now you can see it does this. This is the expose sort of feature. Oh, that's cool. This was actually a killer feature that GNOME Shell had, that I stuck with GNOME for a long time, being able to just hit the Windows key and pop up this little expose thing that you can move around. Now, one thing you can't do is grab these little, I guess, like small previews of the desktop. You can't do anything with these. It looks like you can delete them. It also only shows like the top window. So there are limitations compared to GNOME's activities, but you can still search matching windows, or you can do like, let's see, I want to launch Kate. No matching windows, so it matches an application, and we can launch Kate. And then I want to move this to desktop 3, create a new desktop. There it is. Boom. You can get your GNOME activities in KDE. I think you've been able to do this for a long time, but this was new to me when I found it, and who knows, maybe it's new to you. All right, this video is probably going to be a bear to edit because OBS says I've been going for 47 minutes. I'm really curious to see how long the actual edited video is going to be. Oh, let me splice in some like footage of a game or something going on. So I made this video in large part because I finished editing the last desktop tour video and I realized that I didn't really talk about my theme or style or how I got it to look and feel that way. And then I asked you guys in the comments and you said you were into it. So yeah, here I am making a video for you. I'm feeling good and energized about the channel. I've got a few more videos planned and I think that you guys are really going to like it. And if you like this video and you like what I've been doing with the channel, feel free to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and become a channel member. I've got that going on now too. You know, with social media being in a really weird place right now, a lot of my social energy has coalesced on Mastodon. And lately I've been using YouTube Community to connect with fans and things like that. And it's been really good. So I'm going to keep doing that. And the channel memberships give me kind of another avenue to do that. As always, I appreciate all your support. And thanks for watching.